I never imagined my quiet suburban life in Oakwood Estates would turn into a battlefield over something as mundane as mold. But there I was, watching from down the street as Susan Mitchell, our HOA president, slipped a master key into my front door lock. She had that smug look, the one that said she owned the neighborhood. Little did she know, two police officers were lounging on my couch inside, sipping coffee and waiting. When she pushed the door open, her clipboard slipped from her hands, papers fluttering like confetti at a bad party. Her face froze, pure shock. How did a simple red tag on my door escalate to this? Let me take you back to the beginning, and you'll see why this showdown was inevitable. It started at the crack of dawn, around 5 a.m., when the sky was still that deep purple hue before the sun decides to crash the party. I'm John Harris, a regular guy in his 50s, living in this cozy Michigan subdivision with my wife, Emily. I'm not a morning person. Heck, I'm barely functional before my second cup of coffee. So when I heard that sticky thud on the front door, I figured it was just another flyer for lawn services or pizza deals. I tried to ignore it, rolling over in bed while Emily slept soundly. But then came another thud next door, and another. It sounded like someone was methodically tagging the whole block. Grumbling, I threw on some jeans and shuffled to the living room. Peeking through the small window in the door, I spotted her, Susan Mitchell, the self-appointed queen of Oakwood Estates. She was in her expensive tracksuit, clipboard in hand, slapping bright red tags onto doors with the precision of a drill sergeant. She caught me looking and gave a curt nod, like I was lucky to be under her command. I opened the door, the crisp morning air hitting me like a slap. "Susan," I croaked, my voice still rough from sleep. "A bit early for door decorations, isn't it?" She pointed at the tag she'd just stuck on my door. It screamed, "Danger, do not enter. Potential toxic mold hazard," in bold black letters. "This isn't a joke, John," she said, her tone sweet but laced with that sharp edge she reserved for anyone who questioned her. "This is a public health emergency. We've got reason to believe there's a serious outbreak of Stachybotrys chartarum in the community." I blinked, my brain still foggy. "English, Susan. Small words." She sighed dramatically. "Black mold, John. Toxic black mold. It's dangerous. We have to act fast." Behind her, a plain white van pulled up, and two guys in vests labeled Everpure Environmental stepped out, carrying metal cases. They looked more like salesmen than scientists, too eager, too polished for this hour. "For your safety," Susan whispered conspiratorially. "Entry's forbidden until Everpure does a preliminary air quality test. The team's here at 8. I stared at the tag, then at her. "You're saying I can't go into my own house?" She patted my arm condescendingly. "It's for your own good. Just a formality." But nothing with Susan was ever a formality. She was all about control, dictating paint colors, yard heights, and now, apparently, my air quality. My gut told me this was a power play, maybe even a scam to line someone's pockets. And if I don't want you guys poking around? Her smile tightened. "John, this isn't optional. It's an emergency under HOA bylaws, Section 9, subsection C. We have authority to protect the community's integrity." The van guys stood there, arms crossed, like bouncers at a bad club. Susan gave me one last commanding look and marched to the next house. I stood barefoot on the cold concrete, staring at that red tag. It wasn't just paper, it was a claim on my home. And that lit a fire in me. I wasn't about to let her win. By 8 a.m., the doorbell rang. Emily was up now, fretting after Googling mold symptoms. "Just be polite, John," she whispered. "What if it's real?" I loved her trusting nature, but I smelled a rat. I opened the door to the two guys, Mike Reynolds, the burly one with a clipboard, and Tim Fowler, the twitchy sidekick holding a black box with a tube. "Gentlemen," I said flatly, "welcome to the biohazard zone." Mike pushed forward. "Sir, this is serious. We need to test immediately." I blocked him. "Whoa, Mike. ID and certifications first, state licensed." I'd spent the last hours online, becoming a quick study expert on mold scams. Mike grumbled, showing a laminated card that looked homemade. Tim waved his box around. It were like a toy vacuum. "Ionic particle counter," he squeaked. "Detects mold spores." It beeped dramatically, red light flashing. Levels are high, very high. I nearly laughed. They'd barely crossed the threshold. Impressive. Do parties too? Mike ignored me, shoving a form with a $5,000 estimate for remediation. Sign here. We can start today. Emily tugged my arm, worried, but I saw the hustle. $5,000 after 5 seconds? Show lab results first. Leave the petri dish per state guidelines. Independent lab. They exchanged glances, not expecting resistance. Mike threatened fines and health risks, but I stood firm. Off my porch. They left the dish and stormed off, promising higher costs later. Emily looked panicked. What if we're sick? It's a scam, Em. Red tags, pushy sales, classic fear tactic. Our neighbor Bob Thompson had already paid up. I saw their van at his place. He later told me they showed him a black petri dish. Scary, John. Glad they caught it. I didn't burst his bubble yet, but it fueled my resolve. These crooks were preying on good folks, and Susan was in the middle. I hatched a plan, simple, stubborn, maybe foolish but effective. At the craft store, I bought mini spy cameras, clear tape, and blue food coloring. Emily on my haul. Detective agency? Proving they're liars. I taped a tiny strip over the living room air vent seam, my tripwire. Inside, I placed a paper towel with a blue dye drop. If they tampered, their spray would splatter blue on the white grate. Cameras hidden, one on the bookshelf at the vent, one at the door, one in the kitchen. Motion activated, app linked. I logged everything, times, names, photos, in a notebook. 2 days passed quietly. Bob's cleanup was just noise. Then, the HOA called, urgent water main issue, evacuate for hours. Bingo, their excuse. We left, but I parked nearby, watching the app. The ever-pure van lurked. My phone buzzed, door opening. Mike and Tim sneaked in, no vest, just burglars. Adler's a pain, Mike said. Make it black as night. Tim pulled a spray bottle and petri dish. They unscrewed the vent, tape broken. Placed the dish, sprayed mist. Blue splattered the grate. Mike spotted it. What the hell? But they shrugged, reassembled, and headed out. That's when Susan turned her key, stepping in. She froze at Inspector Laura Chun and Officer Carlos Ramirez on the couch, body cams rolling. Ma'am, Ramirez said coolly, interior entry needs consent or warrant. HOA rules don't override that. Susan stammered, emergency inspection. Chun replied, fake health tags aren't emergencies, it's crime. Backup arrived outside, sirens chirping. I strolled up. Looks like my tip handout, Chun nodded. They bagged evidence. Blue stained grate, petri dish, spray bottle, paper towel. Mike and Tim sweated as Ramirez blocked the door. Jail time for contaminants, Chun warned. Tim cracked, blaming Mike. We copied Susan's emails, health alerts, emergency declarations recommending Everpure. Plates traced the van to Robert Hayes, Everpure owner, brother-in-law of David Lawson, HOA treasurer. Invoices showed 8 hits, $40,000 haul. Chun suggested, HOA meeting tomorrow, bring neighbors and bills. The room packed, tense. Susan gavels for order, droning about mailboxes. Helen Patterson stood, not mailboxes, $5,000. Chaos erupted, bills waving. I rose. Everpure's owned by Robert Hayes, David Lawson's brother-in-law. They planted fake samples. Gasps. David crumbled. Susan made me. Kickbacks. $1,000 per house. He blasted texts. Susan's plans to print money by scaring folks. The room roared, thief, liar. Susan defeated, venomous glare at David. Quiet fell. Her empire shattered. Lab confirmed. Pre-spiked dishes, harmless spray. Pool video showed Susan Roberts swap. Rigged dishes for cash. Raid on Everpure. Red tags, blank invoices, kickback ledger with SM initials. Susan arrested quietly, handcuffed from her pristine home. Plea deals, fines, probation, board bans. HOA reformed. David and Susan ousted. New board. Full refunds via insurance. Adler Amendment. No entries without city order. Neighborhood bonded, talking, watching out. Oakwood's peaceful now. No violence, just smarts topple the bully. Justice served, clear and satisfying. What do you think about stories like this? Share your thoughts in the comments below, especially on themes of injustice and standing up without violence. Do you side with the quiet strategist or believe confrontation is key? Let me know your stance. I'd love to hear your views.